Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about part 1 of the raid on Graymalkin, which is a mini crossover event that extends through some of the X titles. And in this case, it's issue number 8 of X-Men From the Ashes, written by Jed MacKay, and art by Ryan Stegman. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you a favor. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and a comment to help the channel grow. So with that said, this issue opens with Beast waking up from a daze following being kidnapped back in issue number 7. And as he lay in a dark chamber, he overhears a conversation from just outside his cell saying, whoever captured Beast was telling President Lopez that they hoped he was quite pleased, and may even forgive them for having him take a long flight from Terra Verde. To which the president responded by saying he hardly noticed the flight because he was preoccupied by the chance to make right the wrongs done to his people. With that explained, the warden then went on to say, of course, they will need to do a show trial and paint Beast as the architect of their misfortunes. With the spotlight on him, it will make it much easier to hide the environmental devastation being wreaked by Roxxon puppet masters. Because to the outside world, Roxxon Energy has been a good friend to the people of Terra Verde and quote-unquote operated within the laws. So with the president's plans for Beast explained, the warden then went on to say that as long as Terra Verde makes its generous contributions to Graymalkin's operating budget, she doesn't particularly care what he feels about any insinuations. So as Beast stood before the president of Terra Verde and the warden herself, we transitioned over to the factory in Alaska with Cyclops telling the rest of the team that Hank had been taken. With that shocking news in the air, Kid Omega went on to break down everything he knew about the situation and said he was on the phone with Beast when he was taken. So the first thing he did was skim the short-term memories of everyone who was around, and with that data, the kid put together a model of what happened. And based on his discoveries, Beast was taken in town, but following that, Kid Omega lost track of Beast until someone saw an unknown small aircraft in the sky. Now with the clues pointing skywards, Omega then picks up memories of some commercial pilots noticing that same aircraft on a flight path that led to Westchester, New York, the home of the Graymalkin Prison. With all that broken down and explained, Cyclops then went on to tell Kid Omega to copy and paste the battle plans out of his brain and into the common knowledge pool and ready the Hellions protocol, for the X-Men were to gear up and move out. So as everyone started to prepare for battle, Psylocke approached Scott and told him to calm down because he was angry and anger could lead to mistakes. But that was not what Scott wanted to hear because Hank was like a brother to him. And then over time, Scott had to watch as one of his closest friends turned into a monster, but now Cyclops had a second chance with his brother and he was not about to let himself lose him again. So with Cyclops on the warpath, we then transition over to the focus of his wrath, Graymalkin Prison itself. And when we get there, we see Calico and Jubilee eating in the chow hall. And of course, Calico was disgusted by the food selection, but that was when Jubilee reminded her that this food is designed to keep them alive, and considering they are now in wartime footing, they had no room to choose their own rations. So the best thing they could do was eat up. And right when Jubilee said that, she caught sight of Beast and waved him down. Once Beast sat down, Calico introduced herself as a member of the Louisiana X-Men, to which Beast did the same but aligned himself with the Alaskan X-Men team instead. But unfortunately for them, their conversation was cut short as the warden appeared in the dining hall. And as predicted, the warden made a straight line directly to the X-Men while being accompanied by heavily armed guards. And the first thing she started was directed towards Beast, and it went as following. The negotiations are proceeding well with Terra Verde, which means he will be leaving soon. Now his exit would be a black bag extradition followed by a show trial and a quick execution. And then the warden turned her attention over to Becca and told her that considering her family is wealthy and politically connected, she would of course let her go if they made a sizable donation to Graymalkin Prison for all the trouble they went through in finding her. And all she would have to do was sign an affidavit saying she was not a mutant like everyone else in there. But no matter how much, the warden waved her freedom in front of her face, Becca just ignored her and continued to eat mutant food with other mutants. Because Becca was not Becca anymore, but instead Calico of the Louisiana X-Men and a proud mutant. With her defiance on full display, the warden told her guard that Calico, the mutant, had her hands up when hands were called. So right before the guard could strike her down, Beast jumped up to her defense and took the blow meant for her directly to his face, full force and all. But see, that was nothing to Hank. In fact, Hank went on to say, is that all he got, and stood unmoved as the warden called for an object lesson. for she ordered her guards to kill the next mutant who moved, as they gave Beast exactly what he wanted. Now this led to the guard going completely in on Beast, as everyone was forced to watch. But it wouldn't be long before an explosion ripped through the prison and the X-Men were there in force. And on board the X-Men craft, Scott asked if there was any loss of life. To which Kid Omega replied by saying, "None at this time." So with that good news out there, Scott looked over to Magic and asked about their reinforcement ETA, to which Magic replied by saying they too were en route. So with the strike going according to plan, Scott doubled down and said he wants them to hurt them and punish them, but do not kill them, because he is fully aware that they would be coming for them for what they did today, and stacking bodies on top of that will only make what's to come harder. So with the orders out there, Magic stated that Cyclops used to be fun, to which he replied by saying he was never fun. So as the guards braced themselves for another pass-by, the ground under their feet started to shake as Magic's creatures from Limbo erupted from the earth and started to lay down violence upon the guards. So with all hell breaking loose outside the prison, the warden quickly started to make her way to the control center. And as she walked, she shouted for someone to call Trask on comms and have him send a cohort of his Wolfpack sentinels to the main prison level. And right before the warden was out of the room, the guard asked if she wanted him to leave Beast for now and accompany her instead. But she only replied by saying, "Did I tell you to stop beating him?" And with that cold statement, the guard continued his inhuman beatdown of Beast as the warden walked away. And on the next page, we see Cyclops, Tempest, Magic, and Psylocke teleported within the prison, ready to do what they have to do to accomplish their mission. As for Quentin, he was maintaining their psychic comms and navigation, as well as providing aerial support. Then Magic's demon's job was to maintain a distraction, and finally, Juggernaut is in place for his secret attack run, which would play a part in a future issue. But anyway, within the prison, Scott and his strike team ran through the halls undetected because of countermeasures Hank built from parts they stripped from the Shrike suits in an earlier story. So because of that, the facility's sensors had a hell of a time keeping track of them and coordinating a response. So, with complete chaos going down, the warden called for someone to bring the trustees online and use them for the time being. Following that order, we see Scott and his strike force coming into contact with a squad of soldiers, but that was quickly dealt with as our four heroes cut through the once feared guards like nothing. So with a break-in battle, Cyclops asked Psylocke to search the guards' minds to uncover a potential tactical overview. And as Psylocke searched, she found out that this place was worse than they could have thought and compared this place to a place of horrors. And then she went on to say they are taking mutants and turning them into things called trustees. And on Clockwork, one said trustee came crashing through the wall and directly towards Scott. Now quickly Cyclops recognized him as Blob, but the person he once was no longer there. So with pain in his heart, Cyclops opened fire on his friend, but not enough to do the deed. And that was about to be a fatal mistake until Rogue showed up and took Blob out with a single touch. And on the last page, we see the Louisiana X-Men face-to-face with Scott and his team. And with that said, this issue of X-Men comes to an end. But anyway, down in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts about this issue and what predictions you could have moving forward. So with that established, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to leave a like and a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.